second part of chapter 1. So, the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is made up of the lymph nodes, it's made up of the lymphatic vessels and other lymphatic organs. It kind of resembles the veins in your cardiovascular system and actually is derived from them when you are developing. The main thing that this is doing is it's picking up fluid from body parts. Unfortunately, whoever designed our cardiovascular system designed it so that it leaks. That means that you can have excessive tissue fluid if you don't have a way of picking it back up. So, physiologically, the first function that this does is it maintains your fluid balance, basically picking up any excess fluid, cleaning it, and then returning it to your cardiovascular system. Now, in regard to cleaning, it removes foreign substances from blood and lymph. So let me try and blow this up. See these little pinto bean looking things here? Like you can see them in the shoulder really well and the armpit, and you can see them around the hip right here. Okay. These are actually lymph nodes. And as the fluid is being brought in, these are little filters, and they filter this solution as it goes through this lymph, which is the fluid that it's picking up. And it's cleaning it more and more and more and more before it actually drops it off in the cardiovascular system up here near where the heart would be. So that's removing foreign substances and from the blood and the lymph. Now, I know you're probably going, okay, you're talking about the lymph, but you're not talking about the blood. Well, the spleen here actually has the blood going through it and does filter out red blood cells that are damaged and need to be basically recycled. It combats disease. This is my second favorite system specifically for this reason. One of the things that's been happening with COVID that's kind of baffling doctors is that our normal immune system reaction of getting exposed to something and then developing immunity to it isn't working as well as it normally does. So, combating disease and that ability of your body to have immunity is part of this system of the lymphatic system. There's also absorbing fat from the digestive tract. The thing with fat that makes it kind of, different is that it doesn't like being in water. Think about it. You put oil in water and it doesn't like being there. So with the fat that we have in our digestive tract, it actually has to be kind of tricked into going into the watery environment of the blood. The only problem with doing that is you're taking something relatively small, a little fat droplet, and you're surrounding it in something. It would be like saying, I've got a pair of shoes and I'm going to put them in a car. That drastically changes the size from the pair of shoes to an actual car. So when we do that to kind of trick our fat globules to go into our cardiovascular system, it becomes kind of difficult to put it back when the doorways into the cardiovascular system are like the size of a doorway into a room instead of a garage door. Luckily for us, the lymphatic vessels, those little green lines that you're seeing there, actually have huge doorways that are more equivalent to a garage door that would allow something big like a car to go through it. We also have the respiratory system. The respiratory system is made up of the lungs and the respiratory passages. So everybody knows that you breathe to get air. Well, we don't actually breathe to get air. We breathe so that we can get oxygen and we can get rid of carbon dioxide. So physiologically, that is a huge function when it comes to your respiratory system. It also helps to regulate your blood's pH. So acidity or basicity. alkalinity, if you will, because that's the same thing. Base and alkaline are the same thing. It's just two words for the same thing. When you're breathing and you're getting carbon dioxide, one of the things that your body does is it makes something called a buffer out of that carbon dioxide. Buffers are chemicals that help to maintain the pH of a solution. So if it gets too acidic, it'll make it more basic. If it gets too basic, it'll make it more acidic. And you'll learn that in chapter 2, I believe, the chemistry chapter. But so that, or is it 3? I don't remember, but one of those two chapters. So having the ability to regulate the amount of carbon dioxide in your body actually helps us to make that buffer, that pH controller. And that's how this system helps us to regulate our pH. Third, we have the digestive system. So the digestive system has a lot of organs. We have the mouth. We have the esophagus, the stomach, the pancreas, the small intestine, the large intestine, the liver, the gallbladder, the appendix, the rectum, the anus, the pharynx. We got a lot of stuff going on here. But ultimately, what your digestive system is a tube with pit stops that runs all the way from your mouth to your anus. So you've got the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the intestines. That's the tubing that I'm talking about. And then you've got accessory organs, things that aren't in the tubing but secrete stuff into the tubing. So physiologically, what's its function? One of the biggest functions of your digestive system is digestion, which basically means I'm taking big bits of food and breaking them down into their component parts. And you do this in two ways. You've got mechanical digestion, which is your teeth. Mechanical means physically there is something happening. And your teeth are responsible for chewing and taking big, huge bits of food and making them into smaller, teeny tiny pieces. Now, the other part of your digestive process is chemical digestion. This is where enzymes in your intestines and the acid in your stomach come into play, where they're actually taking those bits of food that you've consumed and they're breaking them down even more into chemical parts instead of something that you can actually see or taste. Now, why do we do the digestion part? What's the whole reason behind that? Well, the whole reason that we digest our food is so that we can absorb it. The smaller it is, the easier it is for us to get into our body. And that is another function of your digestive system. It needs to pull those nutrients into the body so that your body can use those nutrients. And finally, there's elimination of wastes. Everything that we eat has some type of additional waste product to it. It's kind of like going to the store. You don't just buy bread, you buy bread in a container, whether that's a plastic sleeve or, well, most bread comes in a plastic sleeve, so I'll just go with that. So when you get home, you eat the bread, but you don't eat the plastic sleeve. The food that we consume is kind of the same. We have certain parts of it that we can use, and there are other parts that we really can't. So we have to, just like we do at our house with the sleeve that the bread comes in, throw it away. We have to get rid of it. It's not like you leave your garbage in your house, you take it out to the trash bin. Now we have two systems, the nervous system and the endocrine system. And the reason that I'm mentioning them both at the same time is because both are major regulatory systems, okay? Meaning that they regulate how your body works. That's why when something is wrong with one of these two systems, we know pretty quickly that there's something wrong. So let's start with the nervous system first, okay? The nervous system is made up anatomically of your brain, your spinal cord, your nerves, and your sensory receptors. So Major regulatory system, like I said, your brain tells you when it's hot or tells you when it's cold or tells you when you're burning your foot or your hand and makes you move and react. We've got reflexes that help us to make our pupils smaller in bright rooms and bigger in dark rooms. It regulates how our body reacts to the outside environment. It detects sensations, that hot and cold and pain that I was just talking about. Those are sensations that go through your nervous system, like I said, so that your body can react. It controls our movements. Your arm doesn't move without your brain telling it to. Anybody who has ever seen somebody who's a quadriplegic knows that they can't move their arms. And one of the reasons why is because that communication system that normally sends a signal from the brain down through the spinal cord into the arm to get the muscles to respond has been severed. So literally, there is no way for it to connect that signal anymore. Physiological processes. So let's say that you get scared. You go out to the parking lot and there's a cougar in the parking lot. Pretty sure you're going to be scared, right? Part of your nervous system is actually designed to switch your body's gear into something called fight or flight. And the physiological processes that happen from that switching gears include your heart speeding up, your breathing becoming deeper. Blood flow actually changes from going to your organs and, let's say, digesting your lunch and things like that, to going to your skeletal muscles to help you to move and get away from this creature that can kill you. Those are physiological processes. It's literally changing how your body is working to try and help you to survive being in front of a predator. Intellectual functions, thinking, memories, being able to figure out a problem, being able to read a recipe, put it together, and work on that recipe. These are all intellectual functions that are part of what your brain does. Not just putting that together and problem solving, balancing your checkbook, things like that, but then sending those signals down to the muscles so that you are moving your arms to get the ingredients put together the right way and to cook and to turn on the oven. All of that is nervous system. Now, the second regulatory system is the endocrine system. And the endocrine system is one of those that also has quite a few organs. But what I want you to take away is that it has glands, okay? The adrenal gland, the ovaries, the thymus, the thyroid. Just know that it has glands. When we get to the endocrine system in AP2, then you can be real specific about it. As far as function goes, there are a lot. Because you have so many glands, the functions are actually very, very numerous. Just to kind of give you an overview and to kind of give you an idea, there's growth that's controlled here, metabolism, reproduction. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that if you don't have enough testosterone, you can't make viable sperm that can fertilize an egg. That's reproductive. That's part of that. Metabolism, the thyroid hormone that is produced actually controls your metabolism. If you have too much, your metabolism is really fast. If you don't have enough, your metabolism is really slow. I'm sure most people have heard of human growth hormone, controlling growth. So these are things that, again, are regulatory. If you don't have enough growth hormone during those formative years when you're growing, you'll never reach your full height. If you don't have enough thyroid hormone to give you a good amount of metabolism, you're going to run into issues as well, because it's not going to, well, you're not going to be able to consume the number of calories that you need without gaining weight. Your body isn't burning through things like it should. Finally, on this slide anyway, the cardiovascular system. Cardio means heart. Vasculature is all of the tubing. So you've got your heart, your blood vessels, and the blood itself as the organs of the cardiovascular system. And yes, we do count the blood as part of it because the blood has really, really important functions, specifically transport. Okay, so not only does it pick up nutrients from your intestines and deliver it to the body, it picks up oxygen from your lungs and delivers that to the body. Then it goes to the cells in the body and picks up waste product to drop it off at the kidneys so the kidneys can filter out all the waste products. And depending on where a hormone is made from the endocrine system, it'll pick it up from that organ and deliver it to its target, wherever that may be. So, transport is a huge part of this. Blood is the taxi cab, the blood vessels are the highways that carry it. Okay, just so you know. It does play a role in the immune response as well. Okay, so it is part, you've probably heard of white blood cells before, and they are part of our immune response. You've probably also heard of antibodies. Antibodies getting to wherever an infection is actually travel the highways of the blood vessels to get there. It plays a role in temperature regulation. So think about this for a second. You go outside in the South Texas 125-degree heat, and you're working outside in your yard, let's say. If you're doing that, what happens to your face? Gets red, right? One of the reasons that that happens actually has to do with temperature regulation. When you get hot like that, your body wants to get rid of the heat. And the quickest way to do that is to cause the blood vessels on the surface of your body. And think about it, the surface of your body is the coldest part of your body. It's going to get those to dilate and allow the blood to flow all the way to the surface. Dilate just means to expand, okay? So they get to the surface where it's the coolest, and as the blood is flowing through that tubing, it cools off a little bit, then heads back into the center of your body. By doing that, it's dissipating the heat, getting rid of the heat, and allowing your body to cool a little bit. Now, is it perfect? No. People have heat stroke all the time, especially depending on the temperature outside. So that's cardiovascular system. The urinary system. The urinary system is made up of the kidney, the ureter, the urinary bladder, and the urethra. Its big function, the one that most people think about, is removing waste from the blood. Your blood actually flows through your kidneys about 80 times a day, and every time it filters through your kidneys, it filters out waste. That's what your kidneys are doing. By doing this, by having this function, we can actually regulate our blood's pH. We can take the acid out of our blood and just dump it into the urine so that it's not there anymore. I will make sure next time I hit record, I turn that off. I'm so sorry. Another thing that we've got is ion balance. So let's say you have a really, really salty meal. Well, in all honesty, your body doesn't need that much sodium. The best and easiest way to get that sodium out of your body is to dump it in the urine, and then when you pee, it's gone. Water balance. I'm sure everybody has had a day where you drank a couple of sodas and you didn't pee pretty much all day long, or maybe you peed once. But if you drink water consistently all day long, you tend to go to the bathroom a lot more often, right? We need water. I don't want you to think that we don't need water, but if we have excess water, we can't just leave it in the human body. We have to get rid of it. So this is an easy way for us, like I said, to kind of dump it into the urine, and then when you go to the restroom, it's gone. You don't have to worry about it. And finally, the reproductive system. The reproductive system has two types. We've got the male reproductive system and we've got the female reproductive system. Male reproductive system is made up of the testes, the penis, the ducts. Ducts, guys, is just a real fancy way of saying tubing. Okay. Like you talk about the air ducts in the air conditioner, it's just tubing. And the accessory structures. Okay. So, what does it do? Male reproductive system has two major roles. One, I produce and transport sperm to a female. The whole reason that we're here as an animal species is to reproduce and create offspring. Not that we're that in real life, but let's say for the sake of argument that we're animals and that's what we do. The other thing that we do as male reproductive system or as a male reproductive system is we produce hormones that influence sexual functions and behaviors. The first hormone that pops into my brain is testosterone that comes from the testes. If you don't have enough testosterone, males will lose their sex drive. If you don't have enough testosterone, males will not be able to produce viable sperm. Now, remember, by viable sperm, what I'm saying is it cannot fertilize an egg. Viable means it is capable of fertilizing an egg. That's all that means. Now, for the female reproductive system, it's a little bit more complex. We have the ovaries, the vagina, the uterus, and the mammary glands, as well as the associated structures. It is responsible for producing oocytes, right here, oocytes. Oocytes are what you would probably, in layman's terms, call the egg. Okay? So, it's the site of fertilization. It's the site of fetal development. Not only does the female body receive the penis and the sperm for fertilization, but it is also where the baby grows. Now, you're not done yet, because when that baby's born, it's not like it gets born and starts walking away going, see you later, I'm going to college. It doesn't work that way. So again, think about us as living out in the Serengeti as cave people. You would need to have a way to feed that baby. It's not like you could go to HEB and get formula. So it's also responsible for producing the milk for the newborn. Okay? And just like the male reproductive system, it produces hormones that influence both sexual functions and sexual behavior.